Hello, everybody, and welcome on down to the Foxhole. I am your host, Bruce Fox, and I'm so happy this podcast has finally came into fruition. Like it has been for sure, like a long time coming. This has been such like a self-fulfilling journey to say the least. Like initially, I wanted to start this podcast last year when I started my sobriety, but it just didn't feel right. I was definitely like kind of scared in a sense to put like my life out there. I know I put my life out there a lot on social media, via Instagram, but that's really only like what I want people to see. But like there's a lot of things going on, in my life that only, my close friends are like really privy to. So I was very scared for a long time. And then it also would have been cool just to see like the journey as it was going on. But again, I was just scared and there was something else holding me back. And I couldn't really like get down to the bottom, like why after the scared part was, over. But I did a lot of like self-therapy and a lot of deep thinking. And I came to the realization it was because I needed to tell the truth. Not the truth to anybody else, but I needed to tell the truth to myself before I could tell it to anybody else. So I did a lot of self-therapy, just coming to the realization about drinking and how it affected me, how it affected, my relationships, just everything that comes with alcohol. So I did a lot of self-therapy. And once I came to, the truth and came to terms with a lot of things, that's when I just felt so free, so fulfilling. And at that moment, I knew it was, time to kind of tell my story to, everybody else. So that's definitely what I'm doing now. And I'm so excited to share all my experiences and what life has been like, through this 1 year of sobriety. So I get a lot of questions from people on social media that I'm so honored to have experienced life with, growing up in high school and college, in my 20s, and now in my 30s in Vegas. I'm definitely not the same person as I used to be. I feel like I'm continually like transforming, and it's kind of funny. I was talking to one of my best friends the other day and telling her about the podcast. And then she told me that she feels like I lived 6 different lives since I lived in Vegas. And I like cackled very loudly because it is so true. Like, and she's been here to visit me like 2 or 3 times. So I feel like she's seen like 2 of those 3 lives, but it's so true. But I feel like I'm just transforming, continually like transforming into like who I want to be. So like, I feel like all like my foundation's pretty much the same with my morals and values, but life has really hit me since I moved to Las Vegas, and I definitely will get into a lot of that, further down the road in this podcast. But this first part, I just mainly want to start with, my sobriety journey. And this is also a good way for those people that knew me when I was younger in high school and college that, don't really, know anything about me now or haven't really, followed me since. Just kind of a good update on, where my life is now, since living in Las Vegas. But before, I kind of get started with why I stopped drinking and, the journey of sobriety, I want you guys to first get a foundation of, kind of in the past of when I kind of started drinking. So we're going to start there first. So this goes way back to probably when I was in kindergarten. There was one night where there was a Bengals game. It was either a Sunday night game or a Monday night game. But I remember it was dark. It was late at night. Again, I was in kindergarten, so my memory is there, but it's in and out. But I do remember my dad getting home. My dad is no longer with us. May he rest in peace. But I remember he was getting home one night from the Bengals game, and I remember him throwing up all over the living room. And I remember my mom being just furious because we were all asleep, and she didn't want us to hear him come in and see him throw up and all that good stuff. But I was up, so I was kind of seeing things. But again, I was like in kindergarten, so my brain is very like it's very small at this point, trying to put the pieces together of what actually is going on. And eventually, I figured out like he was throwing up everywhere because he was drinking. And that moment stuck in the back of my head for a long time. And I remember that's definitely one reason that I never really wanted to drink at all. Like I was the biggest saint growing up for sure. Like I never drank in high school or anything like that. So my dad coming home one night was definitely one of the reasons that like I didn't even want to be involved with alcohol. So then there's this one time in high school. I want to say I was a senior. I'm pretty sure I was a senior. But I was at my friend, and sorry, I'm going to name drop people that I used to, be, best friends with in high school and college that, I no longer talk to or no longer in my life. But I'm just going to say first names. I don't want to offend anybody, but I will be name dropping. But I was at my friend Kara's house, and I always went to her house. Like every weekend we went there. She had like a nice ass basement. And if you know anything about Midwest basements are iconic. Like all of them were like huge. Most of them like had bars. Everybody had like a big screen TV with like a living room space. Everybody had like a either like a ping pong table or a pool table. Like the Midwest basements were like iconic. Like if you know, you know. But so we were at her house. It was me, Kara, my friend Courtney, and maybe like one or two other people. But they had got invited to a party, and it was right down the road. So they asked me if I wanted to go. They knew I didn't drink, and they drank at the time. So I was just like, I was kind of weird about it, but I ended up saying yes. So we go to this party. We walk in, and I'm in culture shock. I see everybody from high school, like so many people from high school. I'm just like, I did not know all you guys drank like at all. Like I was literally like in culture shock. Just from like being in an environment where, there's a bunch of alcohol, but also like, we're all underage. I was growing up always like, I'm never drinking until like I'm at least 21 if I drink at all. But so I was in culture shock, and I just see people, just like people that I see every single day, like people that I have classes with, people that I eat lunch with, people that have lockers next to me, and I'm just trying to figure out like why my phone is dry and why I did not get the invite. But like again, like I was like the biggest saint, so like people just knew like I didn't drink. I was very like goody tissue like back in the day. Believe it or not. But so, yeah, that happened. So I was in culture shock, and I remember just going to the party. I don't think I was there for that long. I wouldn't say no longer than an hour, but like all of the conversations basically were like, Bruce, like I didn't know you drank. And I was just like, no, like I don't drink. I'm just kind of here with, Kara and Courtney. And that was just about it. Just, I can't believe you drink. And yeah, so those are all the conversations, but so that was just kind of my first, experience into like what like a party is, because I've been around alcohol, when my parents had, their friends over and they were drinking, stuff like that. But just to be in an atmosphere where it's a bunch of underage drinking and it's people that I see like every day, I was definitely in culture shock because I've never been, in that environment. and I felt kind of guilty being there. So I do remember like I wasn't there for that long. So that was kind of like my first experience. And then um, also in high school, I had asked my sister about this actually when I saw her a couple months ago, and she doesn't remember this, but she had drank in high school, and I remember one day she had like a 12 pack or whatever like in her room that she needed to get rid of because she didn't want my parents to find it. So she brings me in our bathroom, and then she goes like, "BJ, like come here." And oh, by the way, BJ is just a nickname my family calls me and like my soccer friends from back in the day. It means Bruce Jr., so don't think any like weird thoughts. But she brings me into the bathroom and she has like a Coors Light, Bud Light, or whatever it was, and she was like drinking. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna drink this. She was like, just drink it. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna drink it. And then she just kept on trying to pressure me. I'm just like, no, no, no. And then eventually, she pours it down the faucet, and that was it. And eventually, I think it was a day or two later, but my mom found the beer, and she had gotten in trouble. So I thought that was kind of funny. But so that was kind of like my high school like experience of like being around drinking. It just I wasn't really like around it at all, nor did I want to be. And then here comes college. My freshman year, I went to a small private school in Pennsylvania, like 45 minutes outside of Pittsburgh, called Geneva College. And boy, that was an experience. Met a lot of great people, but definitely an experience. Um, didn't drink my freshman year. And I was also on the soccer team too. So like we kind of had strict rules that, you weren't able to drink, or, you would get in trouble. You could get kicked off the team. You could get kicked out of the college, all that good stuff. So I never drank my freshman year. And then the summer going into my freshman year, I came back home for the summer, and one of my best friends, Gabe, shout out to Gabe. Gabe was definitely a homie during my college years for sure. He stayed up in Pittsburgh, and I lived in Cincinnati. It was like a 4-hour drive. And I told him like my family was going out of town one weekend. You should come down here and, stay here. Let's hang out. So Gabe ends up coming down. And then, I still had like my friends Kara and Courtney, and I told them that, my college friend Gabe is coming down. Let's all hang out. So they all came over to my house, and Gabe drank, and so did Kara and Courtney and, some other people that end up coming to my house. So they're all asking me like, hey, like, are you going to drink? And I'm just like, I guess so. Gabe drinks, you guys drink. Let me just try it. I'm a little bit older now, so let's just go ahead and do it. So I only ended up having like 2 or 3 drinks. It was at my parents' house, so I wanted to be responsible and whatnot. I do remember I didn't really like the taste of it. They should have poured me better drinks. But yeah, I didn't really like the taste of it. I woke up the next morning, no hangover. I was fine. And then the next day, we all went over to Kara's house. And Kara is the one with her parents had, the nice ass basement. So we went over there. I'm no longer at my parents' house. I can, let loose a little bit. So I end up drinking again. And let me tell you, I got litty. I'm gonna have to like find some pictures. I know they're in the Google Photos because I see them every year on the Time Hop. So I'm gonna have to try to find those. But that was definitely a fun night. The next morning I woke up. Now that I know what a hangover is, I wouldn't say I had a hangover for real. I was just kind of just like sluggish. But I definitely did partake in a lot of drinking that night. That was it was a great experience. I was with like all my best friends at the time. Everything was good. So then, that was the summer going into my sophomore year of college. And I really didn't drink too much like after that. I was training for soccer the whole summer. So that was just basically my main focus. But when I got back to Geneva, that fall, it kind of word got out that, I drank. So I really got into drinking then. It was funny because I started to get invited to all these parties all the time, and we had basically athlete parties. Like all the athletes stuck together because we are all kind of in the same boat. As if like you get caught drinking, then you could get kicked out the team or out of the school, like I mentioned earlier. So there was a couple of different like party houses. We had like there was like a baseball house, a football house, I think a basketball house maybe, but all the athletes went to those parties, and the only people that were really invited were athletes and also like boyfriends and girlfriends, other athletes, and a very small circle outside of that. But it was very isolated parties, 100%. And that I didn't get invited to my freshman year because I didn't drink. And now I started to kind of see like what was going on kind of behind the scenes, because there was so many times I brought up to my friends too, like freshman year, where people were kind of like being shady towards me, like after we left like dining halls or classes. They would kind of just like break off from me, and I'm just like, why are they being like that? But come to find out, like they were going to drink. And now like I was getting invited to those little shindigs after classes or after dinner and that good stuff. And so that was just kind of funny. So now like I had to start kind of being shady to my friends, like who didn't drink. So that was kind of a whirlwind of things, of events. But so that was kind of like my drinking experience in like college. We drank all throughout the week. Definitely on the weekends, more so like outside of soccer season. But if it was in soccer season, there was a select few of us, 2 or 3 of us, that only drank together because we didn't want to risk anything. So we kept real tight circle with drinking like during soccer season. And then outside of soccer season, I went down to Pitt a lot. I had a few friends that went to Pitt University. So I kind of got the college party experience there. Because at Geneva, you just really didn't get it. So that was a lot of fun. So that was kind of like my drinking experience in college. And then I moved back to Cincinnati after, my senior year. And all of my friends were a year younger than me. And a lot of them went to Miami University, which was like 45 minutes away from where I live. So like I went to Miami University every single weekend and just stayed on my friends' couches. And I, for real, got like the college experience up there. And I also went to Ohio State University a lot. I went to Ohio University a few times, but I got a good college experience out of that. I didn't really get it at Geneva College. So then like after, my friends graduated, I just kind of just became like a weekend binge drinker. Come Friday, I'm clocking out of work, and then I'm headed to, happy hour with my friends, and we're drinking all night. And it's funny because I was also a soccer coach along with my full-time job too. And I coached like 3 or 4 teams like per season. So like I would like coach all day Saturday. I would go meet my friends downtown, have a night out, till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then wake up the next morning and to do the same thing on Sunday. And it was just like repeat every single weekend. And talking about it, like I feel exhausted. There's no way I could do that now, nor like would I want to. But yeah, that was definitely a wild time in my life for sure. So yeah, so that happened. So then there's been so many thoughts like in my head, like if Gabe never came down that weekend, like would I have ever started drinking? And if so, like when? I probably definitely would have drank for sure at some point, but I wonder when I would have started drinking. And that definitely never like was the thought in my head until like recently. But it's kind of funny to think about. So yeah, drinking was definitely like a lot of fun. I for sure had a great party phase, more so like in Cincinnati. My party phase here in Las Vegas, I just feel like it wasn't the same as Cincinnati, because I like my Cincinnati friends, like, I grew up with a lot of them. We just had so much fun drinking. And here I feel like drinking was more so like, I don't know, the experience definitely wasn't the same with I feel like people here just already had like a lot of trauma going on, and eventually, I fell into that trauma as well. But I feel like people just had a lot of trauma going on, and drinking just wasn't as fun for me like it was in Cincinnati. So that kind of took away from the fun of drinking here. But what can you do? But yeah, so I definitely went through my party phase, and it just got to the point where like alcohol started to affect my life and me personally, and I just no longer wanted to be like a part, of that lifestyle anymore. So I decided to get sober last February, February of 2024, February 19th to be exact. And what a lot of people don't know is I actually started thinking about quitting drinking prior to that, like 5 or 6 months prior. I want to say October, November of 2023 is when my initial thoughts of no longer drinking, kind of came into life. And I watched countless YouTube videos. I was on YouTube like all day, like every day, listening to people's like testimonies after they no longer drank. And there was just one common theme out of all the hours I watched from all those people and all their testimonies, and it was basically like their life is better since they stopped drinking. Like they feel better mentally, physically, emotionally, and that just like stayed with me because like at the time, and I'll get into it on later episodes, I was just going through a very hard time in my life I just need to change. And I'm like, if all these people are feeling better mentally, physically, emotionally, like, and they're not drinking, like, who's to say like that won't be the same for me? So there was definitely a few life altering moments too that led me to be like, Bruce, you just need to put down the alcohol. And one of them was I was coming home from a bar one night. I was driving drunk, which everybody does it. And it's kind of weird to say, but like I really felt like comfortable drinking and driving at one point in my life because like I felt like I was just doing it so much and it was kind of like second nature. But it got to the point where like I was drinking and driving and not remembering getting home, and that's a big issue, and that's one of the reasons where I'm like, okay, Bruce, you need to sit down and not do this anymore. It's not okay. You need to either Uber or not drink. So I had a life altering moment. I was coming home. I got into like my gate of my neighborhood, and I trying to think how to explain this because it's so hard for me to talk about. But I get home and I had to pull kind of like to the side of the road in my neighborhood because I needed to throw up. So I end up throwing up like not only like in my car, like on the side of my car, outside of my car, because thankfully, I got the door open. I threw up a little bit on myself as well. And I remember getting home, like actually home, like in my bed that night, and was just like, Bruce, like you just need to do better. Like this is not okay. And I woke up the next morning. I laid in bed like all day, just so mad at myself. Like, how could you let yourself get this way? Like, this is not how like you were raised. This does not like coincide with my morals and values. Like this is just not who I am. So I was definitely like, very pissed at myself for that. And this was in January of 2024. And so I'm like, Bruce, you just need to stop. And then I had another life altering moment at a bar. Where I just kind of felt like rejected from somebody, I had loved at the time. And I'm like, if I stopped drinking, like would this relationship have ended up, how it is now, which is like we no longer speak. So I had that moment too where I'm like, you could have just ended one of like the greatest, relationships like you've ever had in your life. So I had to go through that realization as well. And then this was in January as well. So then my cousins were coming into town Super Bowl weekend. So this is early February 2024. And I'm like, I haven't seen them like 14, 15 years. They're coming to visit for the Super Bowl. I want to drink with them. So I ended up drinking that weekend. And then after that weekend, I kind of, slowed it down. And I said, I'm going to quit. So then I stopped around mid-February, like right after the Super Bowl. And then I had met this guy, and we had went on a date. And then a week later, it was unexpected, but I ended up going to a pool party with him. And I had already stopped drinking. And I'm like, I've never been to like a Las Vegas pool party and like not drank. So I'm like, I'm actually kind of like, I'm getting anxiety like thinking about it right now, like how I felt. So I'm like, I ran to the refrigerator, took a shot of Fireball, and then went to the pool party. And then, I drank at the pool party. And that was on a Saturday, and ended up drinking that Sunday. We went back to the same pool party and drank that day too. And it wasn't even worth it. After that, yeah, I got home. I'm like, was it really worth it to like start drinking again after you said you like weren't? And I decided it wasn't. So then I just decided to like lay down the law with myself and say, Bruce, it's February 18th. This is going to be your last day drinking. So that Monday, I believe it was President's Day. I have not had a drink since that Sunday, February 18th. So February 19th is like the day of, my 1 year of sobriety. So I have not drank, since February 18th of 2024. And I just feel amazing. And I'm so excited for you guys to hear my story. All the benefits that go along with it. All the things you have to sacrifice, all the things you have to give up. There's just so much that goes along with no longer drinking that people may not even, either realize, or maybe they think they're different. Like things just like losing friends. Like I've lost so many friends since like I stopped drinking, and I'll get into all that, during the podcast. But it's definitely been a wild journey, but a rewarding journey to say the least. And I'm so excited and so happy that I gave up alcohol. It's definitely the single-handed best decision I have ever made in my life. And I say that like wholeheartedly. Like I'm almost in tears, like thinking about it and how this journey has just been so rewarding. And so now I'm just so excited to share this journey with you guys. So, so stay tuned, and we're really going to get after why I stopped drinking in the next episode, and I'm going to take you along the journey with me. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next week. What's up, Foxies? Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And be sure to follow me on social media at TheFoxHolePod. See you next time.